going to the dojo. Is this a dojo? It's full of strange things that make me think there's no way we're inside a school. Perhaps it's a mistake to expect the inside of this building makes sense. Okay. Okay, I'll take a look at this thing last. So armor and a helmet. Did the map developers design this to reflect a Japanese dojo? That target seems pretty far away. If the production team had more time, they could have been a minigame here. Wait, what am I saying? Okay. Training dummy. There's a straw post. I guess that means it was used for training. There are a bunch of wooden lockers here. Each of them has a traditional-looking wood lock key sticking out of them. I guess they're just for show. There's nothing in particular that looks like a clue. Okay. But we have this little book over here, so let's see what we got. What is this? Is this a manga? The title is Manga for Morons, A History of Hope Academy by Monokuma. Why is a manga with such a suspicious-looking title laying out in the open like this? Let's start with history class. Let's start with history first, class. Reading manga is the third best way to learn about history. That's the first thing you ask. That depends on the person. That totally explains how suspicious it looks. I really wanted to just ignore it, but there's no way I can do that. Fine, I'll look at it. I'll look at anything that might be a clue to getting out of here, no matter what it is. Okay. I picked up the manga off the floor and started flipping through the pages. It's an introduction to Hope Street Academy's history as narrated by the cutesy character on the cover. The story begins with an introduction to Hope Street Academy. Hope Street Academy is a government-funded school of privilege where only the most talented high school students can hope to attend. Built to raise hope in the nation's future, many of its alumni are key leaders of various industries. New students are chosen through a scouting process, but the ones who scout them are Hope Street Academy's teachers, who serve as both educators and researchers of talent. Hope Street Academy isn't just a school for talent, it is also a school for researching talent as well. However, for the past few years, Hope Street Academy has been suffering from a decline in funding. If this persists, the Academy believes they will not be able to progress with their research of talent. So they decide to implement a new system, the Reserve Department. Unlike the main department who scouts for students, the Reserve Department utilized a general entrance exam. Normal faculty was hired and placed in charge of looking after the Reserve Department. The expenses and exam fees for the Reserve Department are quite high compared to most high schools. Nevertheless, Hope Street Academy received an endless stream of applicants. Hope Street Academy was now available to talentless commoners, people who only cared about the brand. With this, Hope Street Academy managed to amass sizable funds and began further research of talent. To create Hope Street Academy's earnest wish, a true genius who would become mankind's hope. But just when they thought everything was going well, an unprecedented incident occurred. The incident that triggered the tragedy, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. That's right, it was the tragedy of Hope Street Academy. Hope Street Academy was crippled by this incident and was forced to shut down without accomplishing anything. The end. The ending was so sudden, like a manga that suddenly canceled in the middle of its run. Plus, these phrases mentioned at the end of this manga, the tragedy and the tragedy of Hope Street Academy, these names are so melodramatic. There's no way these incidents really happened, right? This manga only mentions the names, so I don't really know the details, but no, it'd just be a waste of time to wonder about things that don't make sense. More importantly, I learned something because of this manga. The Reserve Department? That department was only built to collect money. I was one of the Reserve Corps students, right?
But hold on.
That's weird. Oh, you're here again. The thing that's weird is you, of course.
Hey!
Why did you forget that you were part of the Reserve Department? The Future Foundation only took away your school life memories, right? But you should have known even before you entered that you had no talent, right? So I think it's weird that you actually forgot something like that too. What do you want me to say? Based on my assumption, the Future Foundation must have wanted to hide the fact that you were one of those Reserve Corps students. Or you willingly sealed those memories yourself. You wanted to be confident in yourself, so you want to forget everything that embarrassed you. You know, when humans experience trauma, sometimes they erase their memory of what happened. It happens pretty often, not that I know anything about that though. Are you saying it's my fault I forgot? That's not it. When things get inconvenient, you always get angry and try to brush it off. Well, that's expected of a Reserve Corps student. Well, fuck that. Wait. Oh, now what's happening? Okay. This cherry tree is in full bloom. Maybe it takes sight to see a blooming tree inside a dojo, but in this situation, it just looks bizarre. That's hilarious. Okay. So, I'm out of here. So, what do I do now? Like, I'm so confused about why these doors are, like, you know, sealed off. Why is Kazuichi here all of a sudden?
What's going on?
This hallway, it's kind of creepy. I can't go to places that I should be able to go to. It's like some rule is being enforced for no reason. It's like there's an invisible wall or something. Yeah, okay, so I'm not the only one who's noticed that stuff. Like, yeah, because we got that, we got this. Okay, there's a classroom here. So, wait, am I supposed to go to the classroom? Next? Or what? I mean, I guess I do. Somehow I don't see Sonia here at all anymore. Even though she was clearly here. And then, you know, suddenly we're like right here. I think that's kind of weird. But we're gonna go to 5A, I guess. Okay, now we're in a classroom. But why? What time is it right now? We can't see outside, so I don't know if it's night or day. Wait, what? Oh, okay. This is another manga. It's laying on top of the desk. This one is Manga for Morons, The Tragedy of Hosobi Academy. Wasn't The Tragedy of Hosobi Academy mentioned in that other manga too? It's why Hosobi Academy went bankrupt, and it was the trigger for the biggest, most tragic, most awful event in human history. If I read this manga, will I be able to learn a little more about that incident? Okay, let's see what we got. I took the manga from the desk and started flipping through the pages to see what I learned about the event known as the tragedy of Hosobi Academy. The story made heavy use of outdated stylized drawings depicting characters solving mysteries. What's written here is, as the name suggests, the tragedy of Hosobi Academy occurred at Hosobi Academy. The key player in that event was a student named Izuru Kamakura. Izuru was a genius known as a symbol of hope. Hosobi Academy used all their resources to develop him. Supposedly, Izuru was a genius among geniuses and possessed various talents. Wielding superior talent for the hope of mankind, the Academy referred to Izuru as the ultimate hope. To protect such rare talent, the Academy completely concealed all evidence of Izuru's origins and identity. Because of that, most of the students at the Academy were completely unaware of Izuru's existence. But Izuru, who was known as the symbol of hope, was responsible for a horrific incident. 13 students of Hosobi Academy's student council, along with the Academy's best and brightest, were brutally murdered by Izuru. However, the incident did not end there. The Academy tried to protect Izuru's superior talent and concealed the incident as though it never happened. However, a certain student began working in secret to use that incident to their advantage. That student uncovered what the Academy did, and by making that knowledge public, it stoked the fires of reserve corps students who had long been dissatisfied with how they'd been treated. And the uprising began, and that heralded Hosobi Academy's destruction. This is the entirety of the tragedy of Hosobi Academy. Eventually, that incident would lead to that horrifying, devastating incident. The incident that would be known as the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. We're excited. Danganronpa 0. Is that something I was supposed to know later? With a heavy sigh, I closed the manga. Am I supposed to believe this? There's no way 13 people were killed at Hosobi Academy. What irony! For a genius known as the Ultimate Hope to cause such a gruesome incident, a talent like that is too regal for society. It's like trying to buy juice with a bar of gold. You should be lucky that you're incompetent. Okay? He's seriously pissing me off. I know, right? But ultimate hope, Nagito mentioned that before too, but it looks like it means something completely different here. What Nagito said was the true meaning of hope, but for Izuru, hope simply means talent. More importantly, a genius who possesses various talents. I wish they'd given me one of those talents so I didn't have to be in the reserve course department. That's right, the reserve course department. Here, it said that the reserve course students in the reserve department began uprising. Then what about me? Was I a participant too? No, that's not possible. There's no way I have no reason to do something like that. Okay. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history is a far worse incident, right? What kind of incident was it? And who's this other student that isn't Izuru? A certain student who secretly used the incident to their advantage. Who is that? This incident is really messed up, but all it's doing is raising more questions. The mysteries just keep piling up. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Okay, so I'm done here. Alright. So, we're just gonna keep going and see what else is, what new thing has been unlocked next, right? Obviously, I can't go in there. Is there another new thing that's been open to us now? Wait, but then... Wait, can I go in here now? Oh my god, I can! Is this game trying to make me do things in a specific order? Is this why it's like this? Oh, now what the heck is this? So we're in the biolab. Okay. We have a tarp over here. This looks like a plastic tarp. Why is this left out like this? Clean up after yourselves, will you? Here's the refrigerator. I've seen this in movies before. It's a refrigerator for preserving dead bodies. At least that's what it looks like. But that's not possible, right? Keeping dead bodies in a high school biolab isn't something you should joke about. It just feels so forced. This idea should have been canceled during development or something. What am I thinking? Okay. How about this? There's another manga just laying around here. This time the title is Manga for Morons, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. I knew it! The next one would obviously be about this incident. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history, huh? Just what was the incident really all about? It might turn out to be something lame. I flipped the pages of the manga and hope that I was right. That is a creepy looking picture. A story about creepily drawn characters who get involved in such horrifying incidents. As an incident known as the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. Is this drawn so, what is that word? Quotesquilly? I don't know what that is. Because the incident itself is that, yeah, I'm not even gonna try. The beginning of this creepy manga starts with this sentence: The tragedy of Hope Speed Academy was simply the trigger. At first, the uprising by the Reserve Corps students that triggered the tragedy of Hope Speed Academy was initially hoped to be resolved quickly, but the situation continued to escalate to dangerous extremes. The movement started spreading all over the internet and fostered a thriving online community. The community was not limited to students, and people of various races and nations began joining in. But the movement was not confined to the internet and began spreading and eroding the real world. When the movement started, it was indistinguishable from any other demonstration inspired by social unrest. But as it spread across the world, certain abnormalities soon became the light. But then by then it was too late. The ends and the means had vanished, and wanton destruction became their only goal. The strong butchered the weak. The weak killed the weakest among them, and soon the weak formed factions to brutally murder the strong. As violence and death continued to spread, the shock of their actions began to disappear. As if the era was regressing to more uncivilized times when senseless deaths were the norm. The media was oversaturated with deaths to the point where people would watch them while enjoying a meal. By the time the world realized what it had become, it was too late to stop what had happened. A feeling of immense despair began spreading and eventually engulfed the world. Acts of terrorism and coup d'etats began occurring around the world. A war waged and named despair. A war fought not for principles, religion, or personal gain, just war. Pure war. And because of that, there's no way to resolve it. How could a movement started by high school students progress to such a hopeless scenario? The only explanation is the existence of a certain organization devoted to a certain student who influenced Hope Speak Academy, a group called Ultimate Despair. Instead of using Hope Speak Academy's talents for the sake of mankind's hope, they used them for the sake of mankind's despair. Key members of society used their influence to brainwash the masses in order to spread despair. Tech-savvy computer programmers wrote software to spread despair. The powerful and influential created new values and morals to spread despair. And with this, they created the tragedy, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. And as long as ultimate despair exists, the despair engulfing the world will never end. The tragedy will never end. My heart was racing in my chest, but my body felt ice cold, and it wasn't because I was in this freezing room. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history? This is definitely all made up. I mean, if this is really true, then what's happening in the outside world? My family, my friends, the convenience store I frequent, the nearby bookstore, my favorite restaurant, what's happened to them?
No way!
Are you seriously yelling at a manga? How crazy of you. Who would enjoy reading something like this? Oh my, you don't like manga? That's not the point though. A high school student who doesn't like manga is like an office lady who doesn't like to eat candy. What does that have to do with anything? I thought you'd obviously know about such a horrible event that destroyed the world, but for you to not remember, that's such despair. That's the Future Foundation's fault, though, thanks to them stealing your school memories. The incident that happened during that period has been completely removed from your brains. This incident really happened and I actually forgot about it? There's no way that's possible. How many times was that possible? All the clues here are real. Please understand, I'm rooting for you. If you don't learn about the full extent of the outside world, you guys will suffer for it. I just want to help you guys so you can live well-adjusted lives in the outside world. I see, so that's how it is. That's what he meant by what he said at the beginning. Well, as the headmaster, I'm conflicted, you know. On one hand, I'm really happy that you're finally going to graduate, but on the other hand, I'm worried about whether you guys will be okay in the outside world. That's why I'm thinking about telling you guys what the outside world is like before you make a decision. Whether you want to leave Jabberwock Island or stay here. He's trying to make us feel despair toward the outside world, so we'll want to stay on this island. But there's no way I'm going to do what he wants. Despair like that simply can't exist. The outside world should be filled with hope, just like now. Perhaps no, that's definitely it. Whether or not this incident really happened, what in the world is this ultimate despair group? If they're devoted to a certain student who guided Hope Speak Academy to its destruction, are they connected to both the tragedy and the tragedy of Hope Speak Academy? Plus, that organization isn't just one person, but a group of people. But if they're known as Ultimate Despair, they're high school students, right? Well, if they were actually able to do it, then I guess that's why they're called Ultimate. Then are the killings weird, involved, and connected to them as well? It's no use. I'm going to freeze to death. I'm at my limit. I need to get out of here. Shivering, I ran out of the freezing room.